Consistency is key in life, and especially to this podcast. Even after such a long break, I'm super pumped to present something really great to y'all. Life is all about short phases and transitions, and I entered a different phase of life as well. Recently, because of one random tweet over the internet, I landed myself an internship at the Maharashtra Tourism and Development Corporation. I was selected as an intern for the business development department, and all my efforts are targeted towards reviving state tourism. Recently, I had this conversation with my friend Janhavi Bhatia, a colleague with me at MTDC, who's a very creative individual and is consistently involved in the social media of MTDC. She believes that learning and unlearning are two very important aspects of life, sometimes the latter having more weightage. So not to delay things any further, let's get right into this podcast and see what we learn. Hey Janhavi, welcome to Out of the Hood with Hamza, episode number 10. We are finally back in the game. So the first question that I had for you today is that unlearn is a word that is often misunderstood by people. They take it in its negative connotation and the actual meaning is lost. So how would you define unlearning for yourself, of course, and create meaning for our listeners as well?
Unlearning is basically, it's just what it says it is. It's unlearning whatever that you've been taught for generations, or something that your parents have had a prejudice upon, and something that you have always thought of. Like, it's just, but it's very inherent to your core about who you are, and it's something that you know that needs to be changed, but you don't know how, or you don't know where to start. It's something that everyone should look within themselves and understand what they need to unlearn. And like, unlearning is basically just getting over or understanding some things better, looking at it through a fresh perspective, looking at it through a perspective that is relevant to you, to your surrounding, not to your parents, not to your grandparents, not to your sister, not to your relatives, or anybody in your universe, because it's ultimately your universe and nobody else should matter but your thought. So that is what unlearning is. I understand that it is taken in a very negative connotation because it's somewhat rebellious, but it's something that all the changes that have always been brought into the world were termed as rebellious, and even if it is your own rebellion, it's worth it.
What was your first experience with unlearning something or learning to do something efficiently by just focusing on it from scratch? What I'm trying to ask is basically, is it about just being very authentic to the core of the activity that you're trying to perform?
My first experience about unlearning was actually, I don't know, it seems controversial, but it was about the Hindu-Muslim prejudice. And it's when me and my mom were driving around Jogeshwari, that is mostly a Muslim area. And that is when there was this biker who cut through us. He wasn't wearing a helmet. And I think I was about 15 or 16, I think, that time. And that's when my mom just went, she started swearing about how Muslims have encroached upon India, and that they need to, it was kind of bad. And that's when I asked my mom, because in school I was learning about harmony and how India and Pakistan were one, and there's no difference between anybody else, we're all just people. But when you come home and it's a completely different story, that's when I asked my mom, why do you do that? They're just people, and he just how do you know if he's a Muslim, or how do you know if he's a Hindu? And she just she looked at me like I wasn't supposed to ask that question, and I wasn't supposed to. I was, I don't know. I don't know what I felt at that time, but we have always had. Then we just kept having these arguments about I'm whatever, and then there were statistics, as in most of the civil disobedience was by Muslims in Muslim-dominated areas, and but the assumption of someone being civil disobedient and directly relating it to someone being Muslim was something that I never understood until I was about 18, and I asked my grandmother about what she thought about Hindus and Muslims. She was a exceptional woman. She had like 2 master's degrees, and she had an extremely tough life about where she came or where she was going. And that's when I asked her, because I wanted her to understand generational views about this particular phenomena. And that's when she said that I don't know how to explain anything to you, but they were living in Gujarat at the time, and the Gujarat riots were active then. So she said that they, the only reason that I'm alive right now is because I'm a Hindu, and the only reason that my mom's alive or any of my maternal side of the family is where they are is because they were Hindu, because that's when there was a man who just came to their house because the color was green. I mean, my grandparents' house was green outside, and it was so silly because that's the painting that they did during Ganpati decorations. So they made a forest, which is why they had to paint the house green, and that's when they thought that it's a Muslim house. They came in, they barged into us, they broke all the vases, everything, and my family was, my mom, my grandmother was in the room up, and they said that we're Hindu, look at our mandir, look at our, they were wearing a swastik in all their necks, and they said, we're Hindu. And that's when they said that इन लोगों का कलर तुम क्यों लगा रहे हो, पाकिस्तान का कलर क्यों लगा रहे हो फिर. So that is significant, and Gujarat riots lasted about, I think quite a bit of time. So I get where they're coming from. I get their trauma, and I get why they're scared. I get why they have hatred towards the other side. But I haven't experienced something like that, which is why I don't know how to react to that. And I didn't so I had to unlearn that generational trauma, as in, because it was passed on to me, and that was the only prejudice. And the only plus side that my mom always thought was because she kept saying, oh, I have so many Muslim friends, and how do you term me to be anti-Muslim? But I have always seen these times when she becomes like that, or when my dad becomes like that. So that is what unlearning is. You need to unlearn that. You need to make sure that you still have peace with your side of the family, because you understand where they're coming from. And yeah, that's what it is. That was my first experience. And after that, I kept realizing, okay, like, this is what's supposed to be unlearned. And I came across one of these Instagram highlights about what unlearning is, and that's when I thought, oh, that's what I should be doing, which is when I read more into it, and I started looking into myself much more intensely. And I wanted to, because I didn't want the other generation, that is my brothers, or if there is I mean, I don't want the same kind of rebellion, or it's the same trouble that I went through to someone else. So yeah, that's what it is.
So my third question to you is there a process for unlearning, and if so, what is that process? Like when you're planning to unlearn something that you know a lot about, do you follow some sequential steps to unlearn it, or is it just trial and error method?
There's there's no process to unlearning something. There's no significant like written down process that you need to do this to unlearn something. But it's basically about how you understand your emotions, how you understand yourself, and it's just a work and play of that. It's truly a trial and error method, because something works, something doesn't, and you need to realize what does for you. For me, it's journaling or meditation, and really asking yourself, or reading about things, or reading about the act of unlearning, or reading about evidences as to, because I'm quite analytical when it comes to arguments, so I need to know both sides, and I need to know exactly what has happened, and I need to know what the correct notion of thought should be, which is why I like to journal, and I like to understand, okay, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I need to think, and the transition from that to where I want to think is what unlearning is. So yeah, there is no process. It's just really looking into yourself and asking yourself, as in, what do you want? That's it.
So my last question to you to end this podcast is that a word, according to me, that's synonymous with unlearning is flexibility, or the ability to maneuver and adjust performance for the required task at hand. So in that way, do you see any kind of similarity between flexibility and unlearning? And what are your thoughts on that?
Very, very well said. It is flexibility, actually, and it is the ability to maneuver things according to your environment. But it isn't actually that simple. It is, the final act is may look like flexibility, but inherently it's something that something in you changes. Your entire, like, you can feel, I don't know, I feel like when I get over something that has to be unlearned, there is a light inside of my body. I feel like something inside me has just been like, ding, okay, cool. Like, that's a great thing. That's something that I've done for myself. And I don't know, it's just, I think the Karl Marx in me, but who are you without your thoughts? So, I don't know. But what my intention of saying this is, flexibility may be something that is quite external, like the term, but unlearning is something that your soul feels, or your heart. I mean, you will feel lighter once you are over something, once you have made peace with something. And there's always this, so when something happens to you, the initial thought is what you have been trained to think, is what you have been thinking since generations, or since a long time. But the second thought is something that you need to deliberately, like, concentrate on, because that is what you do with that thought. As in, if something happens to me related to, like, when I'm driving right now, and whenever I pass through any of the Muslim dominated areas, the first thought of me is, oh my god, okay, let me just be more alert, or something of that sort. But immediately there is a second thought that comes in and says, it's all right. Like, you're just driving, it's just a normal road. जैसे कि जोगेश्वरी में people है वैसे ही मलाड में लोग हैं जैसे उधर है वैसे ही कहीं पे भी और है. So that's all it is. It's just telling yourself what it's just reinforcing the thought that you want to think. And yeah, it's just that. So yeah. We grew up going to school and learning about subjects like we're given information about subjects like media, organized religion, government, and the internet, and so much more. And we're living in what is literally called the information age. We are conditioned by all of this information to see reality through a specific lens. And I want to tell you that learning is not as important as it is made out to be. In fact, I feel like it can be confining. It can be confining you to a life of mediocrity. I mean, according to a Buddhist proverb, that says learning to unlearn is the highest form of learning. And as with many, many deeper truths and various forms of self-actualization, you need to really contemplate what this means to understand. As the more you learn about things, be they true or not, the more rigid your reality becomes. The less possible certain things seem to be, limiting your ability to imagine possibilities as a child. This goes for information as well as any other activities. You take an old man, and you soon realize that you don't seem to gel with them, or they can't seem to gel with you because they are as rigid as their thoughts are. And what I fail to be is someone as that. I don't ever want to stop. I don't ever want to restrict myself into my full. I want to bloom fully, and I, as a human being, owe that to the universe. I owe that to myself, and I consciously believe that the effort it takes to learn, to unlearn, and then to relearn things is so much more, and you owe yourself that. Yourself deserves that. You deserve that amount of attention, and it's necessary to look at yourself and to evolve, to change, because what is nature without any change? There is nothing without change. And with it, if you don't change, you become you are finished. You were nothing. Thank you, Hamza, for involving me with this podcast. I've always wanted to be in one, and thank you so much. I love your content, and I like that you want to learn about unlearning and more, and you'd like to do your part in exploring that with other people and me. And yes, I'm so excited to be out of the hood with Hamza on Spotify, and keep following for much more amazing episodes, because there's so much unlearning to do. Thank you so much.